Okay, welcome back to Just Get to the Game. Even I've played this game a lot, and I think one of the things about me explaining it is actually helping me realize a couple of rules I had a little wacky. So first thing to do is I forgot to reduce attrition in Washington, so I go ahead and reduce that from a 3 unit to a 2 unit. And I'm good. I'm set there with attrition from last round. The second thing that I made a mistake on, two things. One was when the Army of the Tennessee advanced into Nashville and liberated it. They cut off the Tennessee, the resource line for the Union Army of the Tennessee. And what that basically meant was that the Army of the Tennessee with Lee should have got a +2 modifier. I'm not going to adjust that because I've made other mistakes. The other mistake I've made is when you're calculating whether the Union gets their general or not, it really comes down to the attack or defense rating difference. So what I mean by that, and again, I apologize in advance for my hand, but I was using the strategic rating this entire game, meaning that in this case, his strategic rating is a 3, and I would compare that to the Confederate strategic rating. What you want to compare is in this case, if the Confederate was attacking this unit, you would compare the Confederate attack rating, which let's say Lee was a 3, versus the defense rating of this general, which was a 1. And because of that, because the Confederate attack rating is higher than the defense rating, or if the Union was attacking, it would be the Union attacking versus the defender of the Confederacy. If the Confederacy is ever higher, the Union can only use their commanding general and one other general, where the Confederacy can always use their commanding general and up to 2 other generals. Both cases, only one of those additional generals can be cavalry. Now, how the cavalry comes into play is the cavalry, not having a cavalry will reduce your attack or defender rating by 2, and it can't go below 0. So I think I fixed that, reset it. I'm going to continue to play the game the way it is. I really apologize about that. I really didn't realize I made that mistake until I was watching the video. So we're going to move into the fall of 1862, and there's a 5-point strategic will hit that's going to hit the Union, but it will not hit until the political control phase. That's war weariness. So we're going to start by putting our 8 units for the Union right into Washington again. So Washington's got 10 units sitting in it. We got 6 units that we are going to put and I can't get, I'm trying to figure out where I want to put these 6 units. I'm going to go ahead and put them right into Ohio, which really stinks. Yeah, I'm worried about that. Well, I'm going to put them there, leave them there, and I'm going to put my 4 units back into Cairo, Illinois. So that's 6. I got 8, 6, and 4 on the board. Confederacy blockade is now at a 3. So let's go ahead and roll for blockade zone. West Coast blockade zone. I rolled a 3, so it failed. So I'm going to lose 2 more strategic will and not get a resource. I'm going to roll for the East Coast blockade zone. I got a 6, so I am going to get that resource. And I'm going to put this one right into Mobile, Alabama. I'm going to go ahead and roll for the South Atlantic blockade zone. I got a 4, so he will come in. And we'll put this unit right into... I'm going to put him into Charleston. And my last one will be the North Atlantic block zone. And I rolled a 3, so I will not get that resource. I will lose 2 more strategic will. So I now have 80 versus 94. One other condition that the South is fighting for is the 1864 election. That's still off of some, but if I can get the Union strategic will below 50 at the time of the vote for Lincoln in 1864, it will be a win for the Confederacy. So I'll go ahead and I'll take my 11 units now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 units. 2 extra because they were for the blockade zones that didn't get through, so I lost out on 12,000 troops this turn. I'll put 1 unit right into the Army of the Northern Virginia, so I'll move that from a 5 to 6. I'll put 1 right into the Army of the Tennessee in Tennessee. That'll move it from a 3 to a 4. I'll put 1 unit right into Mississippi with plans of getting him right into the Army of the West. I'll put another one in Alabama with a plan of getting him up to the Army of the Mississippi. I'll put another one in Georgia, same plan to build that army up. I'll put one in North Carolina in Wilmington, again, to get him up there into Virginia. I will put one into South Carolina. We'll go ahead and put him in Marion, South Carolina. I got 2 units left. We're going to put another one in Texas. We're going to start to think about bringing a force from Texas up into Arkansas. And my last unit, I'm going to go ahead and put in Louisiana and Springfield. Okay, then we'll make our moves. So the Army of the Potomac is currently sitting, I've got it at an 8. So I am going to move 7 and get that back up to 15. So 6, 7, that's going to leave 3 units again in Washington. I have 8 units left I can move. I'm going to move the 4 units in Cairo down into the Army of the Missouri. That's going to move them from a 5 to a 9. And then my 6 units in Cincinnati, I'm going to rail them down as far as I can go, which is going to bring them all the way to Clarksville because I can control all the rail there. So I got that right put in there, which is really good. Confederacy gets to go, so I'm going to go ahead and move 1 Norfolk, Wilmington 2. Let's go start with those 2 into the Army of Northern Virginia. That'll put it to 8. I want to get 1, 2 units in Kingston, rail them up to 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I can. I'm going to rail them up into the Army of the Mississippi, and that's going to take them from a 2 to a 4. Not very strong, so that's 4 units moved. I'm going to take the Army in Stephen and move them up to the Army of the Tennessee. That's going to move them 4 to 5. I'm going to take this unit in Panola and move them to the Army of the West. That's going to take them 4 to 5. You can see I'm just not building my armies as fast and as strong as the Union is. So I move 2, 4. I think I've got 1 more left to move. So I'm going to go ahead and move. I'm going to move this unit in Springfield, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, up to the Army of the West. I did that a little fast, so I'm going to check that again and make sure I added all that right when I review the video. And any units I may have miscounted, I'm going to move them up to the Army of North Virginia. So I know I said earlier not to use the trackers. You get used to the game, and obviously I'm proving to you that that is absolute gamer's arrogance. You should use them because you can see what happens. I do have 1 general to come in. It's Hooker, and I'm going to put him in supply in Clarksville with this unit of 6 up here, just in case I lose my Army of Tennessee. He can go ahead and potentially build that army out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that Army of Tennessee is really going to try to make a run and escape somewhere. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, if they get to go first, they're going to be fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They can make it all the way up here to Paducah. So that's the case. I'm going to change my mind here. I'm going to put this in Evansville. Again, it's still, can I put them in Evansville? Ohio or Indiana. I'm going to put them in Evansville. And then when I move them, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and move them into Cairo. Because I'm going to try to make my escape this way. And then I can bring these units in. I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then potentially move Hooker in here. And then my Army of Tennessee will go from 3 to 9. And that's really it's gonna be a pullback. It's gonna cost me a bunch. So I'm not anticipating a really big push this way, depending on my cards. Union is absolutely gonna continue to hammer the Army of Northern Virginia. And I really haven't used the naval a lot, and I think it's time to start taking over some of these ports. The problem is by not moving in early, you can see Sabine City here is protected well with an ironclad and 2 troops. Fort Phillips Jackson is pretty well protected, but it'd be nice to take this over. because there is a bonus of controlling the entire Mississippi, a strategic will bonus. Might be nice to just cut off Virginia supplies. If I can take over their 2-3 port lands, they can't get blockade runners into those ports. So we'll see what we'll do. A lot's going to depend on the cards. I did reshuffle the decks again. The cards that said to remove from the game that I played for the events are out of the game. So after reshuffle, the first card the Confederacy get is a 2 Farragut event. So that's going to hurt the Union's ability to move the Navy, because that's a great event for the Union. I got another Ironclad to bring in for 1. I got Mud March for 1, which will cancel a Union move. I got another Union event for a 2, so I can't use that. I got Confederate torpedoes for a 1. Basically, I get 3 torpedo counters, and I can put them in friendly controlled ports. And they make it harder for the Union to run the guns. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is a 2. It's a Union event strategy board. And the last card for the Confederacy is going to be a 3 Habeas Corpus, which will basically remove the Union strategic will by 2. So I got a very, I would say, a weaker hand here. I've got 1 3 card, I've got 3 2 cards, and 3 1 cards. The Union, their first draw is a 3 card. It's Confederate, but that'll let them mobilize armies. They got another 3 card, Confederate. They're off to a great start. Another 3 card with a major campaign. That's going to be really beneficial to them. They also got another 2 card where they can increase their assault modifier by 2. This is really starting out to be a really good hand for the Union. They got Belmont, which basically allows them to move 2 SPs as if they were led by a general. That's 4, 5. Their next card is a France Seagull. They immediately receive, Union will immediately receive a unit in St. Louis if they want. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the last card for the Union will be a 2 card, Admiral Foote. Ooh, this is a running the gun card. No, this is, yes. So this is the card where I can make a naval move with up to 3 SPs. And I can receive a +2 to my DRM, and I get a +2 to running the guns. I'll explain that when I use it. I'll tell you right now, looking at these cards, this is a very favorable Union hand. They've got 3 3 cards. A major campaign is one of those 3 cards. So they can basically activate 3, 4, 5 armies. They can potentially make a major naval move, and I'll explain that if I decide to do it. They got some naval events, so they've got a lot of options when their turn comes around. So we'll see that what happens when we get to make that happen. So I'm going to take a minute to look at the cards and kind of go through my strategy and not have you just stare at a blank screen for a while, and then we'll come back and move on from there. Thank you. Okay, and welcome back. So I played the major campaign, which is going to give me 3 moves for the Union. My first move is going to take the Army of the Tennessee from Waynesboro to Pittsburgh Landing. The Army of the Tennessee cannot stop that when I move to Waynesboro, because there's nothing connecting here. So 1 to Waynesboro, 1 to Pittsburgh, 3 to Lexington, 4 to McKenzie, 5 to Columbus, 6 to Paducah. My second move will take the 6 units and the general that's up in Cairo, and I will basically move them down into the Army of the Tennessee, and I will raise their modifier up to 9. And my last move will be, part of me wants to come down and start to take over more of Arizona. Also, I want to continue my pressure on the Army of Northern Virginia. I also know I've got Grant coming next turn, and Grant is going to really change things in this war, because again, he is a 3-3, so he's going to bring some massive firepower next turn, and the Confederates don't get a general. So my question here is, do I want to basically make that attack to the Army of the Northern Virginia? Do I want to start to cut off Arizona is where my 2 questions are right now. And knowing I got Grant coming in, and I'm not sure where I want to put Grant yet, but man, Arizona's worth 10. Arizona's worth 5 more strategic will, so not a whole bunch, but it would cut off an entire state to the Confederacy, and it would start to allow me to block the ability for the Army of the West to retreat out out of Memphis this way, and they'd have to start pulling back this way if I make an attack and succeed here. So I am going to go with the Army of the Potomac on the Army of Virginia. So I'm going to move my attack out here. So it's 15 units against 8 units. So there's no odds to be calculated. Okay, I rolled a 5 and a 2. We'll do the Confederacy first. So the Confederacy has Joe Johnston with a defense of 2 against the Army of the Potomac, which has an attack of 1, which means the Army of the Potomac can only use 1 other general. So my 2 plus 2 for the Army of Northern Virginia is a 4, plus 2 for Stuart is a 6, plus 1 for Beauregard is a 7, plus 2, 4, 6, 7, plus 2 for the fort is a 9. So a 9 is going to be 5 casualties. It's going to take the Potomac from 15 to 10. The Army of the Potomac doesn't have a lot of pluses, but they rolled well. They rolled a 5. They do not have cavalry, so I don't even get the bonus for my Army of Potomac. Remember, I got to reduce that 2 up to a max of 0, so you're only going to get plus 1, which is a 6. But a 6 is enough to cause the Army of Virginia 3. So, I started 2-to-1 odds. I'm still at 2-to-1 odds. So I'm feeling good there for our potential another attack next turn and just start to wear them really, really down. The other thing, that'll be a strategic will modifier. So the Confederacy did win that battle. So the Confederacy in that victory are going to get 3 strategic points. They were on the negative, so they'll get a +2 on the fortune of war. And they will move back up to an 85. The Union's going to lose 2. And then they're going to lose 3 more for change of fortune. And that's going to put them at 89. So the score is now 89 to 85. It goes back to the Confederacy. Remember, the Confederacy, one of the things they're trying to do is get the Union, they'd like to get the Union down to 50 for the election. There's not a lot the South can do to get strategic will points. One thing they can do is basically win battles. Every win of a battle is going to be at least 3. If they own 3 spaces in an original Union state, so if I can somehow branch off and get some units up into Illinois or Indiana, I can get 5 strategic will. That's really hard to do. If I can capture a capital, and I've done that before with the Confederacy, there are ways to sneak around and do it, but it's really, really hard with a good Union player. That would be 30 strategic will points. That would be great. If I can destroy an army marker for the Union, that'll hit them for 10 strategic points. And the Union's going to get their -5 basically each turn, every fall for war weariness. And if I manage to get a Union fort. So it's not easy to get strategic will off the Union. So the Confederate is going to look at some of the cards that they have. Okay. The best army I've got out here is Lee. He just doesn't have a lot of troops. So I am going to, it hurts. I'd like to hit the Army of the Missouri with Lee. Again, but Lee's only got 5 SPs in his unit. The Army of the Missouri has 9. I think I can really put a whooping on him. Actually, I know I could put a pretty good whooping on them. They're going to have basically a 2 defense. So they'll get a +2 to their roll. And Lee would get 3, 4, at least 5 to their roll. And maybe force the Army of the Missouri back. That might be a nice move to do there. I've also got a ton of units here that I can try to get to move up and bolster up the Army of Northern Virginia. And I don't want to lose that capital. So I'm going to play strategy board for 2. I'm going to play it for the points. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 2 units that are in Marion. They're going to go on rail, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right back into the Army of Virginia to keep my army back up to 7. Because 2 more attacks at the rate we just did them from the Union up there probably would have cost me the capital. And I don't want to lose it yet. Okay, we go back to the Union. So I'm going to show you a couple of cards I have here what I'm going to plan to do. I have John Erickson's Monitor Fleet, which is going to increase my amphibious assault modifier by 2. And then I also know I've got a card here, Admiral Foot, which allow me to make a naval assault and apply my modifiers. And that might be a good way to finally take that Butler force with his SPs and really make an attack onto one of these coastal ports, potentially Fort Phillips and Jackson, and really try to knock that one out. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to play John Erickson's Monitor Fleet. Basically, the Union Amphibious Assault modifier increases by 2, so it's going to move from a 1 to a 3. And we're going to see how that works in a minute. We go back to the Confederacy. Okay, I got Confederate torpedoes for 1. Now, I can play this, and it lets me put in 3 torpedoes in my ports. Or do I just continue to move troops knowing that I've got, I'm short everywhere in units, and do I start to give up my underbelly, let the Union land here, but hold off the North as much as I can? I know that's only a 1 unit card to do that, Confederate torpedoes, but it may allow me to bring 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It'll allow me to get at least another unit up into Grenada. And I do want to get my armies built back up again. So I'm as much as I want to do the torpedoes, I'm going to pull them back. I'm going to play that for 1, get my unit in Mobile to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and get them up to Grenada because I want to get that Army of the West built up. We go back to the Union. Okay, I got this France Sigil card. I can immediately receive 1 unit in St. Louis, Missouri. If no Confederate SP is afforded presence, whether it's controlled or not. Or the Confederate can play this card for a +2 in battle. I'm going to take advantage of an extra unit out here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to put a unit in St. Louis. And I'm eventually going to march them down to potentially Fremont's group down here. So I'll take that. We'll go back to the Confederates. They're going to play another 1 card. I don't want to blow a 2 card, but I'm going to play a 2 card. Again, I'm trying to get resources closer to the front wherever I can. And I'm going to take these 2 units in Charleston. Well, now that I know that the Union increased their modifier, I'm thinking they're either going to attack Charleston personally, potentially Savannah, potentially Fort Phillips or Jackson. I don't think that they would come all the way out here to Sabine City. So I will take that 2 card to move 1 unit, and I will go ahead and take my unit in Grenada and move it up to Memphis, and I'll make the Army of the West go from a 6. Well, that's interesting. No, because I would lose 2 in attrition. I would drop right back down to where I was, so I won't do that there. I'll take 1 unit from Charleston, move them 7, and I am going to move them this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 into Kingston, Georgia. Okay, we're back to the Union. Trying to see what I want to do. I'm going to play a 1 card for the points, and I'm going to move that 1 SP to Fort Monroe, getting ready for my naval launch. So that'll give me 3 units there. Actually, the event lets me move 2, which I'll do that. So I may move up to 2 SPs from the same space as if they were led by a colonel. So I will move 2 units, and I'll leave 1 unit in the capital. And that's got my capital very, very low. Which is risky because if the Confederacy could somehow sneak around my army and invade the capital, I just don't see that happening. I've got this route blocked off, and the only way they can go is through Amelia 1, Burkesville 2, Appomattox 3, or Appomattox 3, Lynchburg 4. 5. It's going to take them 2 turns to get there, and I can easily retreat back up. So I'll stop there. We'll go back to the The Confederacy will play a 2 card. They're just going to continue to move units. So I'm going to take the unit in Kingston and move them up into the Army of Tennessee. So my 5 will go to a 6. So at least I'm building those armies a little bit. They're going to suffer some attrition, but they're a little bit better off here. We'll go back to the Confederacy. All right, I'm going to play the Admiral Foot card now for 2. So what it says is Union may make a naval move with up to 3 SPs. So I will take Butler. I will leave 1 unit behind. I will take the 3 with me. We're going to hope to do a lot better this time. And I am going to try to take Butler with his 3. And I absolutely am going to go for the underbelly of the South. And we're going to try to take Forts Phillip and Jackson. So how does this work? Let's talk about this for a second. The first thing you got to figure out when you're doing a naval battle, is add up the modifiers for that. So the first thing I look at is the South. It's called naval or amphibious DRM, so you figure that out first. So so let me just walk you through it. So the South would get +2 if they had an ironclad here. They don't. They'd get +2 for a fort, so they do have the fort. There is no Hunley submarine in the space, and there's no torpedoes. So they are a +2 on their naval defense. The Union is coming in, and the Union's going to counter that +2 with my current amphibious assault modifier, which is a 3. And then the card on Admiral Foot says I get an additional +2. So I'm at a 5. So my 5 minus 2 puts me at a +3, which was the max. So I can't get any more than that. So I'm currently at +3. And now you figure out the rest of the normal pluses and minuses that you would add to it. So in this case, Butler's got no pluses and minuses. The Confederates don't have any generals there, so it's strictly a +3. I am 3-to-1 odds. So 3-to-1 odds will give me a force ratio of +2. So I'm +5 to the roll. It is a small battle. So Union rolled a 2. And the Confederacy rolled a 3. So the Union 2, again with no pluses because we added those already, is going to be one casualty to the Union. So 1 guy will go away. The Union, when they go, the Union rolled a 2, but remember they have +5. That's going to be a 7. That's going to be a 1. So I will get the 1, plus I win on the tie because of the asterisk. And the Union and Butler with 2 SPs will land in Fort Phillip Jackson. I don't control it yet because I'd have to be able to put a marker down on it. But I just now opened up. I can start to now bring in units through the Mississippi from the south all the way up, and the only place it's going to stop is Memphis. So Memphis is currently the clog in the Mississippi, and if I can free that up, I will basically take over the entire Mississippi. So finally, we got a pretty good naval attack, and you got to see some modifiers in play. We go back to the south now. South is a little bit worried. They can place an ironclad in a controlled port or coastal fort space. So if I wish I would have played that earlier. If I put a ironclad in New Orleans, you still can't get from Fort Phillips Jackson on road to New Orleans. It's still going to have to be basically an attack because there's no road there. So I will go ahead and put that ironclad there. So I'm going to get the Tennessee, and we will put her, technically, the Tennessee, I think, is on the board already, so I can use any other boat. So in this case, I'll use the Virginia. We're going to put them in New Orleans, and at least I'll have a defense there if they try to attack in and get by there. So it's a weak defense, but it's a 1 card, and I'm going to take that risk. We go back to the Union. All right, Union's starting to feel pretty good again. I know I got Grant coming in next turn. I could make another attack up to New Orleans, but I don't have all those pluses this time, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be happy with just sitting here. Okay, I'm going to take this one unit in St. Louis and have them walk down from Ironton to Greenville to my fort in my units in Gainesville. You might say that's a very conservative move, and it is. We'll go back to the South. The South's going to play habeas corpus, which is basically Lincoln suspends the writ of habeas corpus, and that will reduce the Union strategic will by 2. And because they are negative, so it'll just go down. But I'm gonna do anything I can to start to whittle them down. If there's a way I can get them down to 50, I'm gonna go for it because I think that's my best chance to win. It goes back to the Union. The Union is going to play Union arms production delayed, not for the event, for the cost 3. With the 3, I'm going to activate Fremont. Fremont's going to come down to Elizabeth. We are going to drop a unit in Elizabeth. I'll leave my flag up there. And, part of me wants to take over Little Rock. It's one resource that I can kind of, one strategic will point, it'll be the capital. But the other thing I want to do is start to corner the Army of the West out here. So I'm going to move the rest of Fremont's group into Madison. When I go to do that, the Confederacy is going to play Mud March, which is basically going to cancel that move. So it's going to bring everybody back up and not happen. So the Union just wasted 2-3 cards and was countered by the Mud March. Guess a lot of rains hit Arizona and the Union got held up there. So that will end the turn. And then what we'll do at the end of the turn is political control markers. The Union will take over Forts Phillips and Jackson, which now gives them a toehold into the Mississippi. Nothing really changed out here. Believe it or not, the Confederacy's breathing a little bit, but not a good round for them because the Union basically pulled their armies back, restocked them, and they're going to get a bunch of new reinforcements in a minute, so that's going to hurt. We do get to put a control marker on Gainesville, so it is there. Arkansas is dangerously close to falling. We'll see kind of what happens with that in a minute. Anything else? Okay, I don't think that's it. I think that's it. We'll do attrition. So the 10 unit will go to 8. The 2 9s will go to 7. Army of Virginia will go 7, 6, 5. Army of the Tennessee to 6. Army of the West to 5. Army of Tennessee, to 5. And the Mississippi will drop as well. That will drop that. I will lose 5 strategic will again for war weariness to the Union. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the score is currently 85 Confederate to 82 Union. So the Confederacy is actually winning right now. But again, if you look at the board, they're about to get caved in pretty quick. Their underbelly is very weak. We took over Forts Philip and Jackson. We've got 2 strong armies sitting right here on the Mississippi River and the Cumberland and the Tennessee, and a really strong army in the Potomac. The Confederates are trying to counter that with their armies of their own, but they're very, very small. And the other thing to put into play with that is the Union's got Grant coming in next turn, and that's going to give some major bonuses to the attacks. And Grant's probably going to go right into the Army of the Potomac potentially, and just start pounding the Army of the Virginia. Or not ironically, but Grant could potentially go into Missouri, move down here into Gainesville, build the 4th Army pretty big down here, and then start to make its advance and have 3 really big armies out here, because the Army of Northern Virginia, that's one of the things that you look at from a strategy side is, had I put Lee in the Army of Northern Virginia, and I didn't, it would have given them a much better punch and could have potentially counterattacked. It didn't work out for me in this game so far. Usually that's what I like to do, but I also like Lee. So I don't think I might have had that, but without having Lee out here, I think I would have lost Tennessee, Northern Georgia, and Missouri already. So again, every time I played it works out a little bit different, but that's where I'm going to leave it. The card Habeas Corpus, because I played it for the event, comes out of the game in case I ever got to reshuffle. And with that, when I see you again, we'll be moving to spring of 1863. And the Confederate is holding their own at this point. but things are starting to swing in the Union favor, in my opinion. Thanks.